Here we go. We are
Right,
live.
we are
Excellent.
live, yeah. It's always an adventure, isn't it? Making sure everything works properly.
Absolutely.
So-
Well, welcome. Happy Tuesday,
Yeah.
folks. Welcome to TeaFlix.
Yeah. And we have a lovely guest for you today, whom you may have already seen about because there have been various postings in advance. So, Ruth, are you going to bring Zara on?
I will. I just
So
want to
we
tell
can-
the folks while they get on here.
Yes, okay.
I want to tell the folks a little bit about how we met, and then she can extrapolate. There's a word.
Oh, that's nice.
Do I get points for that?
Yeah, I hope so.
So Zarah came to us through her publisher, Dr. Simon Mills, the crazy Australian in New York. And we were very lucky to be chosen to produce, or Martin did, I helped a little bit with catering, to produce her audiobook of Diamonds Are for Cocktails. And without further ado, we will bring on author, TV personality, producer, singer, and all-around rock star, ladies and gentlemen, Zarah. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Very nice to see you both lovely ladies.
Yes, it's been a
Absolutely.
while.
And in your honor,
Yes,
because
of
it's
course.
because of Diamonds Are for Cocktails.
We're having cocktails and it's your fault.
Well, guess
We
what?
got you to blame.
I was having cocktails, but I'm having tea, darlings.
Oh, jolly
Oh,
boy.
well,
Super.
that will work too.
Mhm.
Mm.
So wonderful to have you. I know how busy you are, so we're lucky to get in your calendar. So thanks so much.
Yeah.
Of course.
As far as, your whole journey is just fascinating from, where you were born to becoming this powerful Hollywood player and producer and now author and screenwriter and soon to be film producer. Tell the kids a little bit about where you were born and, your family and what, and returning to your roots during this project is going to do.
Well, I started in the Philippines, the famous Manila city. That's where I was born. Didn't spend a whole lot of time there, unfortunately, and I had to move in my family to Los Angeles, the beautiful sunny California. And after that, I started pursuing my music career. And so even as a teen, I was, in a band and always loved music. That was sort of like the anchor and sort of the catalyst to everything that I do creatively to this day. Shortly after that, I was beginning to open for the Goo Goo Dolls of the world.
Wow.
Touring across the country, which was a dream come true, and became friends with them. And so I also, along at the same time, I had this television show for teen kids and their music, and had the opportunity to host, considering the producers wanted me for many reasons, according to them, but mainly because I was a musician already, a singer-songwriter, and it really helps them, educate and someone who can relate to that. So
Right. So when you obviously, if you have a music background, but you also, obviously you have the personality and the looks, may I say, give us a kiss, to carry it off. How did that all come into being? So, how did you get from the musical stage into TV world? Because it's everybody's dream. And I mean, do you think it's obviously it's talent and perseverance, but how much of that do you think is just pure sheer luck, right time, right place?
I think it's a combination of everything, if you ask me. At the time, I also was working with my husband, who happened to run the Grammy Foundation, Gene Maylard. And he had a strong, long background working for the Kennedy family for, 20 years prior to the time I met him. And he had a long career spanning up until 4 to 5 years. As a matter of fact, it is up until a couple of years ago, until his passing. But he had worked in advancing music and arts and education. And that was my area of interest. And as a singer-songwriter, it was just natural to me. So we began talking. We started, coming up with this, idea and collaborating a whole lot. And, to me, when someone asks me, okay, you love music, you're a musician, and how would you like to host a show with interviewing, the Hollywood stars of the world, the Beyonces of the world, you name it, and educating kids at the same time. I say, where do I sign? So,
Absolutely.
right. And it was just such a journey to me. So I also became a producer eventually in that show, and it reached up until 120 million homes in the United States. So that was a success, educating and entertaining kids at the same time. We had a great roster of the who's who of Hollywood. And so, that was such an enjoyable moment for me. And I worked with, quite a bit of big major labels, like Warner Bros. Was our partner, Universal was our partner. And so it was a memorable experience.
How long did the show run for?
It was 8 seasons.
Wow.
So,
that's a lot of work, because you, as the moderator, interviewer, host, you have to know, about people's backgrounds and working with their publicists. I think a lot of general music fans just think, shows like that are, ad hoc and general chit chat, but you would have to surely go through publicists and what you can ask and what you can't ask and all of those kind of things. Tell us a little bit about that process.
That process in general, it's true. I have to say that you have to deal with a gatekeeper, so to speak. So it really depends on the connections that you have. In our case, specifically for B InTune, we kind of got lucky because we were an E&I programming. And so it's educational and informational at the same time. So there's this combination of the PBS/MTV kind of thing happening with our show. So it's like a hip, cool show, but yet kids love it, parents love it. Right. And so the Warner Brothers of the world and Universal Cities, music, groups of the world obviously has the biggest, roster of clientele. So they're like, oh, you're the good guys. Well, I got this new artist that we wanted to promote anyway. Well, I have this so-and-so and in our catalog already, or in our library. We'll just, we want to give it to you. Please use this. Please use this. So it became that kind of relationship. It was a trusting issue. And, we definitely got lucky. And so I even remember coming down a whole lot to Warner Brothers, interviewing their, new star that they wanted to introduce. And then I would see them, at the Grammys red carpet. And I'm like, wait a minute. I know you.
I interviewed you.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, I could never forget it. And because of that, I became also a contributing writer. That was the beginning. That was the birth of my dabbling in writing, which, to be perfectly honest, I never thought I was going to do in my professional career.
Right. And so then fast forward a little bit from the unfortunate passing of Gene, your lovely husband, to, you told me when we were recording the audiobook, just how you would literally pick yourself up off the floor and say, I can do it, and just keep doing it. And boy, look where you are now. So for anybody watching this who's out there going through what they think is their lowest moment, which yours surely must have been, where do you start? Where did you start to just get up off the floor and get to where you are now again?
Well, I must say it was the most challenging process in my entire life. And, for me, anybody who knows me personally would consider me a strong person, but you needed a whole lot more with this kind of challenge when a loved one dies in your arms, and you had a hard time accepting it. And it was a daily challenge. So it was definitely a day-by-day process. And you had to prioritize because it's all coming at you at all angles. It's a battle. Another business colleague, friend of mine, called me a soldier when I had revealed the process, because it is not for the faint of heart. I have to say, you have to be 10 times stronger than you think. But then I worried so much about going on and picking up my life without having to have the strength. But then I found myself, because of this experience, just when I thought you're the weakest, you're actually the strongest, which is very surprising to me. And I just kept going. My husband told me before dying 3 things that I could never forget, because I finally broke down and I can't pretend anymore that I'm this strong. I have to keep up. I have to be positive, which I was all of the above. But then he says, you know, keep moving forward. Don't look back in the past, and be strong. And
Right.
those became my theme.
Mhm.
And I, to this day, I still feel like it's a soldier in a battle. You keep on soldiering on, keep on making those steps, keep on going. And
Well, Ange feels you. She
I know that one. Yeah,
she's been widowed twice.
right,
And,
that's right.
I
We did
guess
talk about it a little bit.
you don't have an alternative. You
No.
have to start taking care of you, don't
exactly. You have to take life by the throat.
Bingo, bingo. The sanity first. I'd like to preserve that.
you? Yes. Yes, absolutely.
I start there, and then of course my love and my passion for my creativity is also what saved me. And almost every interview that I have, I always talk about and how my writing in my book saved me, or going through my creative outlet, because it is indeed the most important part of you that really makes of who you are creatively. And I think it's very important to stick with that, because it just shows your passion for it, and it carries you along.
Yes.
And besides my prayers to God.
And so obviously during your time traveling the world and doing all these wonderful things with your husband, you got to go to all of these fabulous places. So tell us a little bit about the inspiration
for the book.
Diamonds Are for Cocktails, and when that idea slowly started to come to you, and how did that all unfold? I mean, do you remember a certain, I was sitting in a place and blah, or was it just all by osmosis from all these fabulous places you were going?
I think it's collectively, to be honest, because what happened was we spent time at the French Riviera, and we were hanging out with the late Sir Roger Moore's family and himself and his, wife at the time, and dealing with Prince Albert II, and that's when, between day by day, between that and the surroundings that I had, I mean, looking at the beautiful yachts every day, I mean, it's like a vision everywhere I look, having to live in Monaco for quite some time, and being able to visit, of course, Princess Grace Kelly's home as well, where
gorgeous,
which is pretty amazing. It's so nostalgic, and I love. By the way, I'm a classic black and white movie junkie.
Yes.
I know that golden age of Hollywood so well, like the back of my hand, which actually reflects a little bit of my writing, because of that glamour and that whole aura of just relishing the beauty.
Yes.
Whether it's fashion, whether it's landscape, paintings, art, you name it. It's just the beauty that
culture
and culture. Exactly. Yeah. So that's really the core of the inspiration of the whole thing. I had a movie concept with that. I'm like, why not, make a movie out of it? But then I stood back, and the more I thought about it, I said, in branding wise, and here comes the business side, I said, you know what? It's most likely better to write a book and then a book and a movie kind of series. So that's sort of like the model that I took, sort of like the Gone Girl, you got the book and then the movie, book and movie, book and movie kind of series. So that's in a nutshell.
And so are the character, tell what you can. I obviously, I know the book very well, having heard your dulcet tones record it. So folks, it's available on all of your audio platforms, and of course, Barnes & Noble and Amazon and whatever. And it's just been added to Audible, which we're very proud of for you, and Spotify as an audiobook. But tell the kids the sort of synopsis, and if there's is anybody behind the characters, the main characters, James and Camille? Yes.
Well, I mean, it is a murder mystery. Diamonds Are for Cocktails is a murder mystery, and it is a battle. It is about the battle between the illusion and reality for the rich and powerful, which are the billionaires of the world. And I happened to pick the French Riviera because I happen to
Live
sort of
there.
felt that is in the billionaire's playground, because it's like, I mean, it's not me. I mean, I'm sure somebody came up with that, but I wanted to make an emphasis of that because I wanted to have the world see it through my eyes. And when I'm like describing, French Riviera in my book for the first time, it's really me telling the story, like the first time that I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like that. And the James and Camille, Camille is the diamond heiress, who you'll see a whole lot through the storyline and everything else that's happening in the book, who is an adopted diamond heiress, and who mainly deals with her struggles in life, who faces her dark past, and she has an adventure with her childhood best friend, who was a huge part of this book. So they're the two main characters, and meanwhile, mysterious murders, unravel in the glamorous French Riviera. So it's exciting. It's highly entertaining. So
Indeed.
I just started rereading it, actually, knowing you were going to come on the show. I delved into my pile of reading and started it again. And knowing you and having seen you come here and record it, it just puts another spin on it for me.
Right.
It makes it all so much more personal,
Yeah.
that it was inspired by your real life and people that you knew and lifestyles that you were aware of. It's great. Yeah. I recommend it strongly.
It's a gripping tale.
It sure is.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, it is. It is very intriguing. And one other thing is that it does explore, one of my favorite things is it explores the human side of that story, and, the diamond heiress' struggle. And also, like you said, Ruth, it's a gripping plot that really plays with our human psyche about our temptations of that, wealth and power in the world that
I think,
an average person.
From the outside looking in, we always think, we look at these, the Princess Graces and the diamond heiresses and the yachts and the Riviera. We always think everything must be perfect in their world. They have no issues. They have no problems. They've got, dermatologists, plenty of money, no money worries, not a care in the world. But some of these people are quite strange.
Quite far from it, exactly, from a normal life. Well, they're like the rest of us. They have their problems.
Yep. My grandmother used to say they still put their, even if they're Gucci, they put their pants on one leg at a time. Right?
Well said.
Just about sums it up. Yeah.
Which is why all glitters is not gold, as Shakespeare said in one of my favorite lines. It is very true.
Even more erudite.
Exactly, because again, it's all about the temptation in this world and money and power, which is why I underscored that in my book, because I find that fascinating. The rich and famous lifestyle is fascinating on its own. And here goes the average Joe and Jane, always somehow gets tempted with that. I mean, if you look at some of the biggest the most successful movies at all times, like Squid Game, for instance, right? It's about the temptation, because you have this, gut-wrenching life that people just want to change their lives. Like, I need money. I want to have money. So it's a completely different, scenario. Don't get me wrong with the diamonds over cocktails, but I'm making that point because the temptation and the allure of wealth and power, like you said, Angie, that, it's like people envy. This diamond heiress is the envy of the world. And yet nobody knows how broken she is, shattered to pieces deep down inside. So there's a story behind it beyond than just murder.
I think a lot of these, we've also worked with a lot of celebrities, and in particular had very close quarters and contact to do with some very famous comedians and comedic actors. And they are amongst the most broken people, and comedy is sort of their therapy. This is how they get out, because if they figure they can make other people laugh, they should be happy inside as well. It's kind of like a drug for them.
Yeah. It's so true. And in a different spin, it was my therapy when I wrote into this, because my reality that I had to face alone, in terms of having to deal with the process of dying and the acceptance of it, the death, and you move into different stages of my husband's death, I have to continue finishing and writing this book because the reality is so bad that you need to delve in
Yep.
to another world, a make-believe world that really does not, it's unrecognizable in your own reality of it.
Right.
And so in so many ways, it saved me because I would have not maintained my sanity. It was that difficult.
Yeah.
And, you know, kids, don't do it alone. That's all I can say.
Right. Don't try this at home. Right.
You need all that support as much as possible. And, you know, and I enjoy doing it. It was such a discovery for me because I didn't realize that I will also enjoy, you know, writing, you know, as a songwriter. I mean, I like short sentences. I like short, you know, poem and all that kind of stuff. But don't let me write a novel. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, it's a whole lot of, you know, commitment, and you have to be committed religiously, which I did. And you know, it's all about your passion and your commitment to it, and you know, and your life experiences that makes it a lot fuller by the time you have your finished product. So
Efrat, our friend from Israel,
Mm.
is on, and she's saying there's an Israeli children's song called "The Most Beautiful Girl in Kindergarten." The girl who sings it can't understand how the most beautiful girl in kindergarten can sometimes be sad, and we always use it as a metaphor for situations like we're talking about.
Yes, that's right.
Which is so true.
So true. But these are exactly real life issues and real life stuff, which is why I want to touch the subject of that, because to me, you know, as an audience, as a reader myself, I put myself as a reader and audience first before, you know, on the other side as a writer. So that's kind of how I always change my hats. And I really wanted to make sure that there is more depth to the story. There's a lot of takeaways from it. There's more to it than just your average, you know, murder mystery. Let's go ahead and pick up this thriller.
It meets the eye, sure.
And so, yeah.
Currently, you are in, I know you can't talk too much about them, but you're in movie negotiations, right? That must be a completely, talking of hats, that must be a completely different scenario of turning your ideas from your, on the page into what we can go visually see and take away from it. Yes,
exactly. And I think it's a big help that I was a television producer. So it's sort of like just transitioning a little bit into the bigger screen, so they say.
Yes.
But it has been an off and on meetings, even with some of the, you know, production companies and partners we're dealing with, and who are actually officially partners now and on board with it. But there's several, you know, components to obviously making a movie, as you well know. And we're in the, you know, we're in the funding side right now, and having constant meetings, and I'm very, very excited about it.
Good.
Yeah, the starting blocks. It's amazing to me when people get up at these award shows and they say, you know, 12 years ago, I took this screenplay to so-and-so, so-and-so. So you really have to have two things that I know from knowing you, that you have patience and perseverance, because this stuff takes a lifetime, doesn't it? It takes forever.
It sure does. And a lot of it really boils down to relationships and business. And that really helps a lot, because when you're in the business, it's, you know, exactly who to call, who deals with us. So you do save a lot of time when it comes to that process.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, it is exciting. And I mean, literally, we're talking about even as early as, you know, even this week, I have yet again locked it into quite a bit of meetings.
Good.
That includes this. So.
And so when we were chatting before this yesterday, you were telling me that because obviously you're going to launch a massive, you know, PR campaign when the movie's announced, now that the book is out, that you're also going to be releasing your music after all this time.
It came out. Okay. This is literally the first time I've announced it publicly.
I hope I'm not letting a cat out of a bag, but I think the world needs to see the whole Zara.
You've got to do it now. See,
I've outed you. You have to do it now.
I have to do it now.
Absolutely.
I've first and foremost, this was my first love, and
Yeah.
music was my first love, and I've already written enough, for an album or two. And it's sitting there, and I've been intending to do it, but I think it took my husband to die for me to be able to really, release this thing. And stranger things have happened in our lives when we encounter such, things.
Yeah.
And but yes, and the more I got into it, the more I got convinced. I'm like, oh my goodness, we just like as a writer of a book, as an author, I'm like, okay, I want to share this, with everybody. I'm ready to share this with the world.
Sure.
I want them to know what I've written. So it's sort of like that kind of feeling with my songs. Like, I think this is time now to be out. I think I'm ready. After all this time, I'm ready. I mean, I've performed all across the board. I've done it all, and talking with you.
Shine your light, girl. Shine your light.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And things are happening to our lives for a reason, and it didn't happen, I didn't want it to happen before. For some reason, I'm feeling a lot stronger now in terms of getting it come out, but I just feel like it's all, coming together.
Well, you've built, you've spent a long time, you've built your brand, you've built products. You've got the book, you'll have the movie. I know there's other stuff in the works. And so why not add music and your, forthcoming merch, which it says on your link tree, merch coming soon. If you're out there doing the PR, doing the circuit, you might as well just swing for the fences.
Absolutely.
Why not? It's America, land of dreams, right?
That's right. And we never stop working over here with the Zara and the Diamonds Over Cocktails brand. It always is working around the clock. I remember there's a couple of my followers have been saying, like, you've been working way too hard. And
that annoys me when people say you work too hard. You work as hard as you want to.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I
loving what you do. Yeah.
One thing that does worry me about you is how you deal with the jet lag, because you're off all over the place, and I see you posting from here, there, and everywhere. And I'm like, how does she do it and still look fresh as a daisy? So maybe you need to go into a cosmetic and skin and vitamin line to tell us how to look like that when we just come back from Timbuktu.
Oh, you're so kind, Ruth. Goodness gracious. I again, a lot to do, I guess, with the passion, right? Not very well in some other, you throw me back in Asia. I mean, I'm not going to do as well as, like, let's say Monte Carlo. I mean, that's a whole lot of flip there when it comes to that. Talk about 16, 17 hours. But speaking of which, yes, indeed, a skincare line is in one of the portfolios of the Diamonds Over Cocktails.
Jolly good.
Oh, it's so funny that you mentioned, and like, boom, I mean, she just knows it. I guess that's part of all of us knowing each other.
Yes. I polished my diamond crystal ball this morning, you say.
Amen. I love that. So
tell the kids where they can find you on socials, and the address of your website has been going across the ticker, across the crawl at the bottom, so that we can bring our fan base to your world, and I'm sure they'll dive in and love it just as much as we did.
Thank you. Well, first,
I can't wait to get back to rereading the book again now. We had this conversation.
Such a doll. Thank you so much. That melts my heart right there. I love it when people read it. Well, we've been getting, by the way, more and more of good, consistent reviews in terms of this is a solid read, fantastic premise, and all that kind of stuff, and everything that I'm hoping a targeted audience when it comes to 30s and 20s and 30s and above. It's all getting validated, so I'm really happy. But you can find me starting from my website, which is the ZAY-rah.com, and for my social media, let's see if I can, how well my memory will be. Facebook will be theauthorZarah.com, and most of it are author Zara. When it comes to Instagram, author Zara, and Twitter, LinkedIn, the same thing. Author Zara, as well as a Pinterest and TikTok and YouTubes of the world. It's all across the board, except for the Facebook, the author Zara. The rest is author Zara.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Easier to remember.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I know you have another exciting adventure awaiting you this afternoon, so I won't keep you all day. But thank you so much for carving out the time to spend with us this morning and
lovely to see you.
entertaining our troops. And I will see you very soon, I hope. And we'll post this also on our YouTube channel for Mrs. McCartney's TeaFlix, which is bit.ly/TeaFlix YouTube. So if you're just tuning in towards the end of this, it will be posted on Angie, and I'm sure all of the author Zara pages will share it.
That's right.
And we will see you on the Grammys red carpet and the Billboard red carpet and the Book Awards and the Oscars and all of the above.
Eventually Oscars.
Absolutely.
We're crossing our fingers, right?
Yes, to you, my dear.
Yes. Onwards and upwards.
Indeed.
Cheers.
Happy to
Cheers.
You both. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.